Chapter 51 There is a sixth child. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The clouds dissipated, revealing a messy camp inside. There were several dilapidated tents pitched above, and piles of wood, iron pots, weapon racks and other tools were scattered on the ground. In the center of the camp, a group of green-skinned creatures were lighting firewood, and a large pot was boiling, with something unknown inside. When they saw the human intrusion, the group of green-skinned creatures turned around instantly. Han Xing met their eyes, sunken pupils, sharp fangs, and pointed ears. These physical characteristics made Han Xing blurt out their names. Goblin. Han Xing didn't expect to see such common creatures in games in this world. In front of them, the attributes of this group of goblins also appeared. Goblin Warrior, 1-star creature. Level, LV6. Strength, 31, Agility 25, Spirit 13, Constitution 27. Skills, Beast Hammer Slam, Upward Pick. Goblin Wizard, 1-star creature. Level, LV6. Strength 14, Agility 18, Spirit 35, Constitution 18. Skills, Fireball, Dark Mind Technique. Goblin Assassin. Goblin Overseer. Goblin Handyman. There are 8 goblins in total. Among them, there are 4 level 6 goblin professionals, plus 1 level 7 goblin overseer, and 3 level 5 goblin handymen. This configuration is strong and numerous. After survivors reach level 6, their strength will increase dramatically. Similarly, the attributes of monsters will also be greatly enhanced. Even with the current attributes of Korean stars, they cannot be taken lightly. The moment they discovered Han Xing, the group of goblins rushed toward him with red eyes and weapons raised high. At the same time, the goblin assassin on the side shook the dagger in his hand and disappeared from sight. Roar! The goblin warrior took the lead in charging like an out-of-control bull. In an instant, he came to Han Xing's side. So fast. Han Xing was surprised. He quickly rolled on the spot to avoid the charge of the goblin warrior, and then used his nearly 50 points of agility to quickly distance himself. At this moment, a cold light flashed. The goblin assassin appeared behind Han Xing at some point. A chill hit my neck. Oh no, there's a sixth child. Han Xing instantly felt his scalp numb. As a hunter, it was very dangerous to be approached by an assassin, not to mention that he was still in a state of attacking with more than less. He had already taken out a bottle of secret life elixir from his backpack, preparing to take the drug immediately after being stabbed. At this moment, a black light flashed instantly and pounced on the goblin assassin. Ouch! Mei Qiu roared angrily, seemingly very angry at the goblin assassin's sneak attack on Han Xing. Proof.com. Aha! Briquette's claws scratched the goblin assassin's face, instantly taking away a piece of flesh and blood. Roar! As severe pain hit him, the goblin assassin cried out in pain and turned around to look for the culprit. Han Xing's eyes lit up and he drew the long bow in his hand. Skill, Wind-Chasing Arrow is activated. Just when the arrow was about to be shot, Han Xing suddenly moved his aim down half a minute, aiming at the goblin assassin's chrysanthemum. Call out. This arrow was extremely fast, and at such a close range, there was no way the goblin assassin could dodge it. Han Xing heard the sound of tearing flesh after the arrow penetrated. The goblin assassin's cloudy eyes suddenly widened, and then he looked back at the back of his butt in disbelief, where the arrow was already halfway in. The next moment, an earth-shaking howl sounded. Ouch! This scream made the other goblins stunned, and they even forgot to continue attacking. Han Xing clapped her hands happily and laughed. Ha ha ha, let you be the sixth son of a bitch. Before the goblin assassin could react, the second arrow shot out suddenly, hitting the back of its head directly and coming out. Han Xing's eyes were cold. After finishing off the goblin assassin, he drew the bowstring again and aimed at the other goblins. At this time, the remaining goblins seemed to have reacted. A big fireball slammed towards Han Xing, and at the same time, 2 more goblin warriors rushed towards him from different angles. However, Han Xing's own agility attribute was higher than that of these goblins, and he was able to avoid the fireball attack by turning slightly to one side. Just as Mei Qiu was about to intercept, Han Xing issued a new order. Mei Qiu, you go deal with the goblin behind. Leave these 2 guys to me. After receiving the order, Coal Ball flashed with black light and rushed directly in front of the Goblin Mage. Upon seeing this, the Goblin Overseer raised his beast-bone sledgehammer and slammed it at the briquettes. At the same time, the other 3 Goblin servants were also attracted by the briquettes. Coal Ball was 1 against 5, and the pressure on Han Xing's side dropped sharply. His only enemies were the 2 level 6 Goblin Warriors. After getting through the initial chaos, Han Xing also found his own rhythm. He poured a bottle of secret potion of brutal bear power into his mouth, and his strength skyrocketed. Call out! Call out! Skill, double arrow activation. 2 arrows were shot, one hit the Goblin Warrior's right leg, and the other hit the other Goblin Warrior's shoulder, and their charge was interrupted. Then, Han Xing took half a step back and prepared an attack stance. Skill, multiple arrow activation, and what was different from before was that Han Xing suddenly felt that a powerful force seemed to appear in his body the moment the blow was fired. Is it the special effect of the Moon Crown Longbow, triggered by the flow of moonlight? Han Xing realized instantly. At the same time, I feel happy, this time the multiple shots will be more powerful than ever. Benedict! 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 Arrows were shot out one after another, and there was a sound like they were penetrating cowhide. The next moment, 2 or 3 fine iron arrows were inserted into the hearts and chests of the 2 Goblin Warriors. His heart was penetrated, and the Goblin Warrior died instantly. The powerful attack power of the Moon Crown Longbow shows its power for the first time. Kill 2 Goblin Warriors. There are still 5 goblins left in the camp. Coal Ball fought against the Goblin Overseer and Goblin Wizard alone, using his terrifying speed to the extreme. The remaining 3 Goblin servants were holding the wooden sticks in their hands and waving them around randomly, but due to their attributes, they could not touch a single hair of the briquettes. I saw the coal ball flashing back and forth between the 5 goblins, constantly causing damage to them with its immature claws. Han Xing immediately decided to kill the 3 Goblin servants first and let Coal Ball fight alone for a while. Anyway, with its properties, it's not difficult to stick with it for a while. Call out. Phew! 3 arrows were fired in a volley, and the 3 Goblin servants were all hit by arrows and were attracted by Han Xing. However, Han Xing's attack power at this time has far exceeded the upper limit of these level 5 monsters. Even if it did not hit the vital point, every arrow caused heavy damage to them. 10 seconds later, 3 Goblin servants fell to the ground. Han Xing said happily, "It's still a soft persimmon to pinch." And just then, the originally bright skies suddenly turned dark. Han Xing subconsciously raised his head and suddenly saw a black full moon appearing above his head. Chapter 52 Encountering Survivors. You are listening at novelfull.audio. A dark purple full moon hung high above the head. The dark purple full moon seemed to absorb most of the light, turning the entire camp into dark purple. Legendary special effects. The dark moon is coming. The triggering condition is to kill 5 enemies in a row. At this moment, Han Xing felt that his hands were wrapped in a strange force. He could clearly feel that his attack speed had become faster. Moreover, it is not only Korean stars who have received an increase, but also Coal Balls who are fighting. When the power of the dark moon appeared, the attack speed of Coal Ball suddenly increased sharply. Although its power was only a dozen points and its damage was relatively weak, at this time, the Coal Ball showed Han Xing what an extremely fast attack speed was. Black light flashed one after another, and dense bloody claw marks appeared on the bodies of the Goblin Wizard and Goblin Overseer. It looked like an invisible monster was constantly gnawing at their flesh. In less than 10 seconds, the 2 goblins had hundreds of blood marks on their bodies, and their bodies were covered in blood and flesh, and at this moment, the dark purple full moon appeared for the 20th second. Cracks suddenly appeared on the dark purple moon's surface. Han Xing knew that the most powerful blow of this legendary special effect was coming. When the dark moon advent state ends, the dark moon will automatically detonate, causing explosive damage of agility *300% to surrounding enemies. Sure enough, the next moment, the dark purple full moon suddenly exploded, and the terrifying power of the dark moon fell from the sky and began to be released wantonly. The 2 goblins had already suffered a lot of injuries from the coal briquettes, and now they felt as if they had been struck by lightning. Buzz. The entire camp seemed to be swept by a strong wind, and the power of the dark moon began to wreak havoc. When the aftermath of the dark moon explosion dissipated, a system prompt also appeared: kill the Goblin Warrior, Goblin Wizard, Goblin Overseer, to gain 1,200 experience points, and pet briquettes to gain 960 experience points. After reaching level 6, more experience points are required, but accordingly, more experience points will be gained from killing level 6 monsters. However, at this time, the Korean star was still immersed in the powerful effect of that legendary special effect. He exclaimed, "Damn it, is this a legendary special effect? It's so cool." It directly affects changes in the environment, and can even summon a moon during battle. It is simply a pretentious artifact. In addition, the damage of the last hit of this special effect is not bad, it is also area damage, and it can be used as a clearing skill. Han Xing was overjoyed. After testing the special effects of the Dark Moon Longbow, Han Xing prepared to merge this goblin camp into his own territory. There are more than 100 square meters of empty islands, which can directly increase the area of his territory by 1/10. A system prompt appears: you have successfully merged the goblin camp. Your territory has expanded, and you have obtained territory resources: fertile soil *18, simple tent *7, iron pot *2, iron spoon *7. Most of the territorial resources behind them are simple tools made by this group of goblins. Among them, there was an area about 10 meters away that emitted a foul smell. Han Xing said with disgust on his face, "Damn, these goblins really don't care about hygiene, they defecate everywhere." That he was very disgusted and separated these dozen territories and threw them out together with the tools used by these goblins. After dealing with this, Han Xing was ready to explore the next cloud. At this moment, Han Xing suddenly saw a large sky island in the distance approaching him quickly. Han Xing immediately cheered up and carefully observed this empty island with an area of more than 1,000 square meters. He found that there were no clouds covering this empty island, which meant that this was not the monster's territory. If it is not a monster, then there is only one possibility left. This empty island is the territory of other survivors. Moreover, the other party's target is obviously coming towards him. Are you coming for me? Han Xing was alert. Although everyone is a survivor from Blue Star, we must be on guard against others. He didn't want to die in the hands of a monster instead of his own kind. Han Xing quickly let Cole Ball hide under the sofa, and he was ready to fight. Now everyone's empty islands have no defense facilities, which is equivalent to a state of wide open doors. Others can see what is on your empty island at a glance. Fortunately, Han Xing built a few wooden boards in advance to cover his storage box, so others couldn't see anything. Otherwise, at this stage, it is difficult for the survivors not to become suspicious when they see a dozen large boxes in your territory. 10 seconds later, the opponent was coming straight towards him. And when the two empty island territories were less than 30 meters apart, the opponent suddenly stopped. Han Xing saw a figure appearing on the opposite side, standing on the edge of the territory, and waved to him. After thinking for a moment, Han Xing also stepped forward to see what the other party was planning to do. At this time, he also saw the other party's face clearly. It was a man wearing half a suit of green light armor and holding a fine iron sword in his hand. He was young, in his early 20s. Seeing Han Xing, the other person seemed extremely excited. He waved his hands and shouted, "Brother! Look at me, look at me!" Han Xing frowned and waved towards him. After receiving the Korean star's response, the other party seemed very excited. He said excitedly, "Great, I finally saw a living person." As the young man spoke, he controlled the sky island again to approach. At this moment, Han Xing suddenly said, "Stop." The young man clearly heard the coldness in Han Xing's tone. He was stunned for a moment, and then seemed to understand something. He smiled bitterly and said, "Brother, I don't mean anything else. I just haven't seen the same kind of people for several days. I'm a little too excited. Don't get me wrong." Han Xing could also vaguely feel at this time that this man did not have any malicious intentions, but he still remained vigilant, nodded and asked, "What's the matter?" Seeing that Han Xing's attitude had softened, the young man quickly said, "Nothing, brother, I just want to get to know you. If possible, we can make friends together so that we can take care of you later." At this point, the young man sighed. "To be honest, after coming to this world, I have been facing those monsters, which almost caused me to have a mental breakdown." Han Xing shook his head. "It's not necessary if you want to make friends. Now everyone can't protect themselves and can't take care of others. The top priority is to improve their level and strength as soon as possible. I still have to go level up. If there's nothing else, I'll leave first. After Han Xing finished speaking, he turned around and left. The young man said quickly, "Hey, brother, don't leave in a hurry. My name is Pao Yu, my real name is Chu Yu. I am a native of Xinyang City and a level 5 warrior. I see that you have good equipment and your territory is quite large. Do you want to form a team together?" After saying that, he looked at Han Xing expectantly. Han Xing also figured out his purpose at this time. It turned out that this person saw that the area protection was lifted and couldn't wait to find other survivors to form a team. This young man named Chu Yu continued, "Brother, don't worry, I am still somewhat confident in my own strength. If we form a team together, I will definitely not drag you down." After Han Xing thought for a moment, he shook his head and said, "No, I have no idea of forming a team now." Han Xing didn't say his name, and the other party didn't know that he was the famous Xinghe in Area 107. Hearing Han Xing's rejection, Chiu asked with some confusion, "Brother, it's hard to survive alone in this world. Many people in the chat channel are now sharing their coordinates and looking for people nearby to form a team. However, the world seems to be a bit bigger than imagined, and it is difficult for two people to meet together. I think, how about the two of us?" He seemed to want to try again. However, Han Xing still shook his head and said, "No need." Chu Yu hesitated to speak, but thought of Han Xing's attitude. He sighed and said, "Okay, I'll go find the next person. You, be careful." Han Xing nodded. Chu Yu turned around and controlled the Sky Island territory to slowly go away. Before leaving, he said, "By the way, let me remind you, someone said in the chat channel that he discovered a 2-star secret realm, and the coordinates are not far away. I rushed here after seeing the information. But that 2-star secret realm requires 5 people to enter. Now many people are rushing there, looking to form a team. I think you have good equipment. If you are interested, you can go and have a look." Han Xing nodded and thanked him. After Chu Yu left, Han Xing thought about it. Is it the 2-star secret realm? The system announcement said that the most difficult secret realm now open is the 2-star. With the current strength of these survivors, it may be difficult to conquer it. It's better to upgrade quickly. At least bring the briquettes to level 6 first. Thinking of this, Han Xing let the briquettes come out from under the sofa. He remembered that there were 2 skills to be unlocked on the skill panel of briquettes. Among them, the Void Drain skill can be unlocked at level 6. The other Void Frenzy can only be unlocked at level 10. Coal Ball's first 4 skills have already allowed Han Xing to see what real magic skills are. This Void Absorption will definitely not be that weak. Han Xing took a deep breath, and his heart was filled with motivation to level up again. The territory began to move forward at a speed of more than 400 km per hour. Han Xing found that even if the territory reached this size, he did not encounter any resistance when advancing. It's as if its speed is constant and not affected by gravity. Unless it encounters some obstacle along the way, the speed will only drop. This phenomenon is obviously against science, but we have already entered this magical world, so what kind of science is there? At this moment, coal balls suddenly flashed with black light and reached the edge of the territory in an instant. Han Xing looked over doubtfully. A few kilometers ahead, a cloud with an area of only a dozen square meters appeared, but unlike other clouds, a black vortex appeared outside this cloud. The Secret Realm of Clouds. Chapter 53 1-Star Secret Realm. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The Secret Realm of Clouds. Han Xing blurted out, "It is considered good luck to encounter a secret realm of clouds here." Han Xing controlled the Sky Island and gradually approached this secret realm of clouds. After getting closer, he saw a star appearing above the vortex. This represents the difficulty of the secret realm. 1-Star Secret Realm. Han Xing controlled the Sky Island close to the edge of the whirlpool, and at this time, a system prompt appeared. 1-Star Cloud Secret Realm, the Lost Palace. Difficulty, medium, number of people allowed to enter, 1-2 people, recommended level, 6-10. Do you want to enter? Lost Palace, do you want to enter? Han Xing hesitated for a moment. although it is only a 1-star secret realm, it is definitely difficult. The above recommendation is also to enter with 1 to 2 people. If you have a companion, the risk will be much reduced. At this time, Han Xing suddenly felt that he should go back and find that Chiyu to form a team. But he quickly shook his head. I have many special things on my body, such as a space backpack, S+ growth briquettes, and purple equipment of legendary quality. Any one of these things is enough to make other survivors jealous. If you team up with others, you will inevitably be exposed. It's okay if it's someone you know, but if someone you don't know publicizes the fact that he owns these things, then he will be coveted by many people. Han Xing decided not to take the risk before building up the territorial defenses. At this time, Han Xing suddenly thought of something, touched his chin and thought, the system's recommendation is 1 to 2 people. I wonder if pets are included in this standard. At this stage, apart from me, there should be no other survivors who have pets. Thinking about it this way, Cole Ball's combat power should not be taken into account. If that's the case, then my current actual combat power is equivalent to 2 people. Moreover, the strength of briquettes is much stronger than that of ordinary survivors. With its assistance, the effect will be better than teaming up with other people. Han Xing's eyes lit up and he thought there was something interesting. After some comprehensive consideration, I can challenge this secret realm by myself. So, Han Xing called Cole Ball to his side and clicked to confirm. The next moment, the vortex suddenly glowed, and the portal opened. Then, he took the briquettes and stepped into the whirlpool. The moment he stepped into the whirlpool, Han Xing felt that the world in front of him was shaking and the picture was spinning. When the vision returned to normal, the scene in front of him also changed. Han Xing found that he appeared on the ruins of a building. This place once seemed to be a palace. With collapsed bricks and stone pillars everywhere, the entire palace is very large, at least 5,000 to 6,000 square meters. The entire ground was paved with stone slabs, with a thick layer of dust falling on it. The palace seemed to be located in a valley, surrounded by thick clouds, and nothing could be seen except the area within the palace. When Han Xing tried to walk to the cloud area, the system prompt appeared at this time. You have reached the edge of the map, please return the way you came. Han Xing thought, so, the place covered by clouds is a place that cannot be passed. In other words, my activity area has been restricted to this palace ruins. At this time, another system prompt appeared. Cloud Secret Realm, the first stage challenge mission of the Lost Palace has been started. Survivors are asked to prepare for battle. When the prompt ended, Han Xing suddenly felt the ground shake slightly. Oh no! Start fighting directly. Han Xing said in surprise. This secret realm challenge is too straightforward. At the same time, in the ruins, a huge hand suddenly stretched out. Han Xing instantly became vigilant, rumbled with the sound of falling bricks. A huge yellow humanoid monster sat up from the ruins. Only half of its body was exposed, and it already exceeded 2 meters. The remaining half of its body was still buried in the ruins, but you can still imagine how huge it was. The next moment, the sleeping giant slowly propped himself up and stood up. Only then did Han Xing see the full picture of this monster. It is more than 4 meters tall and looks like it is made of clay, but in fact it is made of a special material, similar to brass, but harder than brass and comparable to fine iron. There are faint white lines on the surface of the clay giant's body, like human blood vessels, with faint energy flowing inside. That is actually the energy vein created by Mithril. On its chest, a special device the size of a human head is emitting bright green light, continuously providing energy for its activities. The attributes of this monster also appeared in front of Han Xing's eyes. Psychic Puppet. 1-star special creature. Level, LV7. Strength, 48, Agility 37, Spirit 35. Constitution 55. Remaining psionic core value, 30. Remaining defense value of psychic core, 100. Skills, energy shot, rock body, passive skill, when receiving physical attacks, reduce the damage effect by 30%. Psychic Puppet. What the hell? Seeing its attributes, Han Xing was surprised. This physique is too abnormal. It actually has 55 points. Coupled with the passive that reduces physical damage by 30%, if this is an ordinary survivor, I am afraid that he can even break the defense. Not even. Obviously, Han Xing is also a physics professional, and the passiveness of this psychic puppet also affected him. However, fortunately, his attack power is much higher than that of the same level. Even if it is weakened, it can still cause decent damage. At the same time, the psychic puppet also showed a strong desire to attack Han Xing. It opened its big flat mouth and made a mechanically synthesized sound. Intruder, die, that the energy core on the chest of the psychic puppet began to emit a strong green light. At the same time, a ball of energy suddenly gathered in its palm, and it seemed to be accumulating power. Buzz. The psychic puppet's attack was fully charged, and a ball of energy erupted from the energy veins in its palm. Han Xing felt a strong crisis from this blow. If he was hit, he would probably be seriously injured even if he wasn't dead. Han Xing rolled violently and dodged the attack. Before rolling, the arrow in his hand that had been charged for a long time had already been shot. Call out. The fine iron arrow, enhanced by the powerful attack power of the Moon Crown longbow, directly hit the psychic puppet's left face, but the next moment, Han Xing discovered that the arrow did not cause any damage to it. The arrow hit, but it was like hitting a stone, and only penetrated less than 10 centimeters. This injury is basically like scratching an itch for the psychic puppet. Oh, that's how much damage it caused. Han Xing was a little confused. Han Xing's attack seemed to anger the psychic puppet. It started to take steps and strode towards Han Xing. 4. Lord Chiron. Boom. Boom. Every time the psychic puppet takes a step, it feels like a boulder hitting the ground, making a dull sound. Before it even gets close, a strong sense of oppression is already coming. Chapter 54 Decomposing the Puppet Remains. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The psychic puppets gradually approached, followed by a sense of oppression. At this moment, the coal ball suddenly appeared on top of the psychic puppet's head, swiping 2 claws into its eyes. For a moment, Saturn splashed, and 2 pieces of soil were removed from the pupil area of the psychic puppet. The effect is there, but creatures like puppets don't seem to need eyes to capture information from the outside world. Even though coal ball's attack hit, it didn't hinder its progress at all. However, when Han Xing saw the wounds in the psychic puppet's eye sockets and the traces of black gas coming out, his eyes suddenly lit up. The weakening effect of the power of the void is useful. Briquette's void power skill has the effect of reducing the enemy's defense and inhibiting healing, and can reduce defense by up to 30%, especially against such high armor enemies. It can work wonders. Han Xing did not expect that the weakening effect of the power of the void would still be effective against such a puppet monster, so Han Xing immediately took out a bottle of medicine from his space backpack and drank it in one gulp. Secret Potion of Brutal Bear Power, increases strength by 30%. The attack was strengthened again, and Han Xing immediately turned around and shot a wind-chasing arrow. Hey! Take my arrow. Not seeing the attack coming, the psychic puppet subconsciously raised its arm. Bang! Saturn splashes. This arrow was still like hitting a stone, but even the stone was penetrated by Han Xing's powerful attack power. The fine iron arrow penetrated the palm of the psychic puppet and then, with unabated force, plunged into its shoulder. Efficient. Han Xing's heart skipped a beat. Before this, although his attacks could cause a little damage, they were negligible. To put it simply, they did not break the defense, but now, after the armor of the briquettes is weakened and the power of the brutal bear's power secret potion is increased, the direct damage of the second arrow has soared. The little coal ball once again made a great contribution. Han Xing smiled knowingly and regained his confidence. Previously, the powerful defense displayed by this psychic puppet was enough to make any surviving survivor despair at the current stage, but now, Han Xing already knows that his attacks can cause damage, and as long as you can break through the defense, even God will kill you. The next moment, multiple arrows burst out. Fortunately, this explosion also triggered the moonlight flow effect of the Moon Crown longbow. The agility attribute suddenly increased by 40 points, coupled with the 30% strength bonus provided by the secret medicine of barbaric bear power. Han Xing felt stronger than ever before. When the psychic puppet saw the arrow coming, it also felt the threat of the arrow. It raised its arm in a clumsy way to block Han Xing's attack. However, it's too slow. Before it could raise its hand, all 5 arrows had hit and pierced its body fiercely. One of the arrows hit the core of the psychic puppet, which was also done deliberately by Han Xing. But to Han Xing's surprise, this place is not its weakness. On the contrary, the defense at the psychic core is stronger than other parts of the body. It seems to be an independent part of the psychic puppet, with a defense value of 100. Han Xing only lost 5 defense points when he shot it with an arrow. According to this calculation, it would take at least 20 arrows to destroy its core. However, the agility attribute of this psychic puppet is not high. Compared to Cole Ball and Han Xing, this man and the wolf are extremely agile, and the psychic puppets cannot keep up with them. Then, there is only one fate waiting for this psychic puppet. That is being kited to death by a Korean star. Han Xing fought and retreated, leaping back and forth across the ruins. From time to time, he would distance himself, then turn around and shoot an arrow. Benedict. Tuck tuck. Han Xing calculated in his mind how many arrows he shot. After the 30th fine iron arrow was shot, the rock-like upper body of the psychic puppet was pierced into a hedgehog shape. A burst of black smoke rose, and the monster finally fell down. Han Xing breathed out slowly, I finally killed this guy. This psychic puppet is so difficult to deal with. It's almost as strong as an elite monster. In fact, the psychic puppet is actually stronger than ordinary elite monsters in terms of defense alone. If its other attributes were not too low and had obvious shortcomings, Han Xing would have to pay a price if he wanted to kill it. At this moment, the system prompt appeared, killed the psychic puppet, level LV7, gained 150 experience points, Cole Ball gained experience points. 1-star Secret Realm, the first phase of the Lost Palace has been completed. Survivors, please be prepared. In 30 seconds, the second phase challenge of the Lost Palace Secret Realm will begin. Oh no, there's still a second stage. Han Xing was shocked. He had somewhat underestimated the difficulty of the Secret Realm. The strength of the monsters in the first stage alone was almost as strong as that of the elite monsters. How could they survive in the second stage? And this is only a 1-star Secret Realm. If it were a 2-star Secret Realm, the difficulty would probably rise several notches. That Chuyu had previously said that he would team up with other survivors to challenge the 2-star Secret Realm. Here, Han Xing could only mourn for half a second of silence for him. Han Xing quickly walked to the remains of the psychic puppet and prepared to retrieve his arrow. At this moment, the system prompt appeared, decompose the remains of the psychic puppet. This can also be decomposed. Han Xing clicked yes. The next moment, the remains of the puppet, which was more than 3 meters high, collapsed suddenly, like a boulder turning into powder. Successfully decomposed the remains of the psychic puppet, and obtained special magic clay *647, damaged psychic core *1, mithril *35, refined iron *464. Han Xing weighed the mechanical component in his hand, which weighed 20 to 30 kilograms. This thing was the thing that supported the mobility of the psionic puppet, that is, the psionic core. At the same time, the system prompt appeared again. Repairing the broken psychic core requires spiritual core *3000, mithril *245, and ether *8000. Do you want to repair it? It can be repaired, but what's the use? Han Xing was a little confused. If you don't know its purpose, you can only put it aside for the time being. At this moment, the 30 seconds of preparation time had passed. The ground shook violently again, rumbled. In the ruins, giant puppets stretched out their arms, revealing their huge upper bodies. In an instant, Han Xing saw at least 6 psychic puppets standing up from the ruins. Hiss. Han Xing took a breath. In the previous stage, just one psychic puppet took him nearly 10 minutes, now 6 of them appeared at once. This is like a strongman locking up men. A huge pressure suddenly enveloped my heart. Han Xing tightened the long bow in his hand and couldn't help but ask himself, can you fight? Can fight, it just takes longer. This will be a long battle that will not only test Han Xing's fighting awareness, but also his endurance. At the same time, Cole Ball also seemed to see the strength of this lineup. Its limbs were tense, its fangs exposed, and it kept making threatening growls from its mouth. Although it knows that these puppets are not easy to mess with, as long as Han Xing gives an order, it will rush over without hesitation. The battle is about to begin. Thank you book friends for your tips, and thank you for your monthly votes and recommendation votes. Thank you for your support. The author has no intention of repaying you, so I will give you a shout here first. Bang bang bang. Chapter 55 Bloodshed. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. The second phase challenge of the Cloud's secret realm is about to begin. Before all 6 psychic puppets woke up, Han Xing glanced at his backpack, 2 space backpacks, with a total of 60 storage spaces, filled with various props. Among them, 900 fine iron arrows occupy 30 squares of space, in addition to a set of 10 bottles of secret life elixir. He brought 200 bottles, occupying 20 squares of space. There are also 50 bottles of secret potion of wild bear power, using 5 spaces, the remaining 5 cells are used to store some miscellaneous food, drinking water, and loot. At this time, Han Xing felt lucky in his heart. Fortunately, he had a space backpack, which allowed him to carry so many items with him, which was perfect for dealing with such a long-lasting battle. If other survivors were able to deal with the psychic puppets, they would soon be defeated due to lack of supplies. At this time, Han Xing suddenly thought, after the secret realm is over, should he make a batch of space backpacks and trade them in the market? Although his space backpack is only white equipment, at this stage, I have not heard of anyone having other space storage items that can be carried around. A space prop that can carry equipment with you is, at the current stage, even more effective than a blue suit. It is a well-deserved artifact. Moreover, the materials required to make a space backpack are also very simple. Only spiritual cores and 1-star animal skins are needed, and he now has a large amount of reserves in his warehouse. There's a show, Han Xing thought to himself, when everyone comes into contact with the Cloud's secret realm and understands the power of the monsters inside, there will be an even more urgent need for some space props. Then, it's time for me to take action. However, the top priority now is to deal with the battle at hand. While Han Xing was thinking, all 6 psychic puppets had locked onto their targets. They raised their right hands at the same time, and the mithril patterns on their arms shone brightly at this moment. In their palms, there seemed to be a mass of terrifying energy gathering. Han Xing quickly shot an arrow and retreated instantly. Cobalt followed the figure and flashed, rushing to one of the psychic puppets, and just then, the attacks of the 6 psychic puppets were all charged up, and 4 or 5 energy beams attacked Han Xing at the same time. Buzz! Han Xing suddenly felt a sense of crisis coming from behind. Almost without thinking, he immediately used the hunter's early magic skills, roll. Han Xing rolled on the spot and barely escaped this concentrated fire attack. Boom! There was an explosion. The place where Han Xing was standing was like a violent explosion, and a large crater appeared on the ground that was more than 1 meter deep and 2 meters wide. Looking at the scene in front of him, Han Xing's scalp went numb and he couldn't help but shiver. It would be unimaginable if this shot hit me. I'll wipe it. Without thinking, Han Xing ran like crazy, trying his best to distance himself from these psychic puppets. While running, he did not forget to look back and fire a cold arrow from time to time. Benedict. The arrow hit the cheek of one of the psychic puppets. Because there was no defense reduction effect of the briquettes, the arrow only caused slight damage, but Han Xing's aggressive behavior completely angered these psychic puppets. They moved their elephant legs as thick as logs and began to chase Han Xing. While Han Xing ran wildly ahead, a strange scene appeared in front of him. A strong man kept jumping back and forth on the collapsed stone pillars, followed by 5 or 6 puppet giants, bombarding him with energy attacks. There is also a wolf cub following closely behind, its body flashing constantly. Every time it appears, it will definitely cause some slight damage to these puppets. At this time, Han Xing wanted to say, Master Chiu, stop shaving. However, although the damage caused by the briquettes looks like scraping, it is minimal, but Han Xing doesn't need the output of briquettes, it just needs it to help reduce the defense of these puppets. After a while, the 6 puppets were superimposed with multiple layers of the power of the void, and Han Xing's arrows were finally able to cause more damage. He began to run wildly while looking for opportunities to release cold arrows. 10 minutes later, Han Xing was panting from exhaustion. And while panting, he cursed, "These stinky rocks are so hard." Not only that, after such a long time of fighting, those puppets still showed no sign of decline and continued to pursue him closely. At this time, Han Xing suddenly thought that the activities of these psychic puppets require energy as a driving force. After such a long time, they should have consumed a lot of energy, but when he looked at the panels of these puppets, his heart sank. Remaining spiritual energy value, 30. After fighting for more than 10 minutes, they only consumed 10 points of their spiritual energy. According to this calculation, it would take at least nearly an hour to consume all the energy of these puppets. Yes, it seems that this tactic is hopeless. Han Xing could only continue to run away in embarrassment, and just when Han Xing was chased away by 6 psychic puppets and ran away with his head in his arms, some changes were quietly taking place in the outside world. It seems that a battle has just occurred on an empty island territory of survivors. Above, 2 human survivors were staring at another male mage with fierce expressions. The 3 of them all had some injuries and seemed to have just fought. However, the injuries on the male mage were obviously much more serious. At this time, the male mage looked angry and spoke first. "Damn it, you 2 guys, why are you leading me to form a team to explore the secret realm? It turns out that the target at the beginning was my equipment." One of the human swordsmen said with a fierce expression. "It's because you don't know what's good and what's good. I told you to lend us your blue suit for a while and then return it to you in a few days. But you didn't listen. So, don't blame us for taking action." Next to him, another human stalker sneered, "Brother Lin, what nonsense are you talking to him? After killing him, not only his equipment will be ours, but also other supplies in his territory will be ours." That the male mage was filled with grief and anger. Little did he know that he had already lured the wolf into the house. In this unrestrained world, being targeted by these people is basically a dead end, but the male mage did not give up the struggle, but waved his staff as if he wanted to make a final counterattack. Then, as a mage, he was approached by 2 melee professions and had no chance. Facing the siege of the 2 men, he gradually despaired. Then a sharp iron dagger pierced his chest. After a scream, the battle ended. A moment later, a naked human corpse was thrown from the air. The human swordsman and the stalker looked at each other, with a trace of bloodthirsty light on their faces. Then they divided up the resources in this human survivor's territory and annexed his Sky Island territory to strengthen themselves. The same scene appeared one after another among the human survivors, for resources or equipment. Some people release their inner greed and murderous desires and choose to draw swords on others, and those unlucky ones who were selected, before they died, all sent out their shouts in the chat channel. For a time, several screams could be heard from time to time in the chat channel, making people panic. That's when, on an empty island with an area of more than 1,000 square meters, a burly human warrior was resting with his eyes closed. The quality of the equipment on him is extraordinary. He has at least 3 or 4 pieces of blue equipment. His tops, bottoms, and weapons are all blue grade. At the current stage, although the strength of this equipment is much higher than that of other survivors, it will also be coveted by others. This human warrior is Qing Jianyong. Raising his eyes, Qing Jianyong suddenly saw a suspended territory in front of him approaching him quickly. Chapter 56 Unlocking New Skills. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 2 Sky Islands approached Naomi Yugi. Seeing the appearance of those 2 territories, Isamu Narumi instantly realized that these might be other survivors. Because Han Xing's warning was still in his mind, Qing Jianyong immediately became vigilant and held the blue sword. Wait until the empty island approaches. Cheng Miyang saw a human hunter and a human warrior standing above. If 2 survivors appear on an empty island, it means that the 2 people are either very close, or there is something wrong with one of them's territory. Moreover, both of them looked a little miserable. Their bodies were covered in blood, and their equipment was in tatters. One of the human warriors seemed to have been seriously injured and could not stand firmly. He needed help from his fellow hunters. When the 2 saw Qing Jianyong, they suddenly glowed with excitement and said quickly, "Great! It's the other survivor, Xiao Jiang, we are finally saved." Qing Jianyong frowned and asked, "What's wrong with you?" The human hunter had a painful expression on his face and sighed. "It's complicated to say, but to put it simply, we encountered a terrifying monster. It was a big bird that was attacking human survivors everywhere. Territory. Unfortunately, we were attacked by that big bird and were almost killed by it. We managed to save our lives. Because of this, my brother's territory was destroyed. Then we fled all the way, away from the attack range of the strange birds. We ran away for a long time before finally meeting you." Listening to their tragic experiences, Qing Jianyong felt a little sympathetic. At this time, the human hunter continued, "Brother, my friend is dying. If you have healing items there, can you please save his life? We will remember your life-saving kindness. When Qing Jianyong saw their appearance, they really didn't look like they were lying, and he felt pity for a moment. After a moment, he sighed and said, "Come here, I still have some secret elixir of life here." When the human hunter heard this, his face suddenly lit up and he quickly thanked him. Then, the two empty islands came close to each other. The next moment the human hunter and the human warrior landed on Sky Island territory. They looked at each other with a sinister smile on their lips. You. When Qing Jianyong saw their expressions, his expression suddenly changed. In the Lost Palace, Han Xing is still engaged in a long tug-of-war with 6 puppets. More than 20 minutes passed. Han Xing's archery hand was numb, and the index finger and middle finger that pulled the bowstring had become very red and swollen, with blood marks on them. Every time he pulled back the bowstring, he felt a heartbreaking pain in his fingers. If he continued to fight, he felt like his right hand would become useless, but the battle has begun, and these psychic puppets will not give him time to rest in the middle. Han Xing could only grit his teeth and continue to turn around and shoot. The terrain of the ruins is not too big, and these puppets will surround him from many angles. If it weren't for the coal briquettes that aroused the hatred of these puppets from time to time, Han Xing would have been overtaken by this time. He has forgotten how many arrows he shot, but a conservative estimate is that there are more than 300 arrows. After removing the missed arrows, each puppet now has at least 30 arrows inserted into its body. These stone monsters look like weeds growing out of them. This picture makes the Korean star want to laugh, but as soon as he grinned, a terrifying energy beam struck in front of him. Gone. Han Xing gritted his teeth and rolled on the spot. After closing the distance, he drew the bowstring almost as an instinctive reaction. Skill, multiple arrows activated. Benedict. Tuck tuck. 5 arrows, all focused on one of the puppets with the lowest remaining core defense value. But at this moment, the situation finally changed. The core defense of this psychic puppet was finally cleared thanks to his unremitting efforts. Han Xing shouted excitedly, "Okay, that the psychic puppet mainly relies on its core to provide energy for its activities. Now that its defense value has been cleared, as long as its core is shattered, it will automatically lose its combat capability." Han Xing turned around instantly and shot another wind-chasing arrow. This is his most commonly used skill, for no other reason than that the wind-chasing arrow is faster and has a higher hit rate than other skills. Call out. The wind-chasing arrow hits. The core of this psychic puppet was pierced, and its forward movement suddenly stopped. Click, click. After a burst of black smoke came out, the psychic puppet stopped in place. Killed. Han Xing said in surprise. After taking care of this psychic puppet, there were only 5 left on the field, and the Korean star's pressure dropped sharply. He poured a bottle of the secret potion of wild bear power into his mouth again, and started shooting madly again as if it was a shot of chicken blood. I'll come. I'll come. I'll shoot you stoners to death. Ha ha ha. Han Xing screamed, completely ignoring how shameful his shouting was. There was no one here anyway, and he wasn't afraid of being hurt. Bang. 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 The sound of arrows hitting these psychic puppets came one after another. 5 minutes later, the second psychic puppet fell. After another 3 minutes, the third psychic puppet fell. There is no suspense in the next battle. When the core of the last psychic puppet was pierced, Han Xing collapsed on the ground as if he had collapsed. It took 1 hour and 27 minutes to shoot more than 400 arrows. Finally, these 6 stone monsters were killed. Han Xing was so excited that she almost burst into tears. Since coming to this world, he has never experienced such a long and difficult battle. The 2 fingers that plucked the bowstring were all bloody, and there were bursts of pain in his shoulders. He quickly took out a bottle of secret life medicine from his backpack to recover from his injuries. Call. The cooling secret medicine goes into the throat, which not only replenishes the body's water, but also relieves the pain all over the body. At the same time, the secret medicine of life quickly took effect, and the 2 fingers that were almost half disabled quickly grew new flesh at this time, and within a few seconds, they were back to their original state. This is the powerful recovery ability of the secret medicine of life. Fortunately, this is a world of magic. Otherwise, this recovery effect alone cannot be explained by modern biology. At this time, Han Xing suddenly noticed that there seemed to be something wrong with the coal briquettes in the distance. after the battle, the little wolf cub still had red eyes and was constantly exhaling hot air from the tip of its nose. It was always in a state of nervous tension. Han Xing quickly called him over. "Coal briquettes, come here." Hearing Han Xing's cry, Mei Qiu came back to his senses instantly, and the ferocious aura on his body disappeared instantly. Then, with a flash of black light, Coal Ball appeared next to Han Xing. "Stop showing your teeth, it's over." After listening to this, Mei Qiu seemed to have relaxed his vigilance and returned to his usual well-behaved puppy self. Han Xing touched its head, took out a few spiritual cores from his backpack, and fed it. "Thank you for your hard work, little Coal Ball." After Coal Ball wolfed down a few spiritual cores, his condition improved a lot. It rubbed against Han Xing's palm. Then, a system prompt appeared in front of me. 1-star Secret Realm, Lost Palace Challenge has been completed. Secret Realm rewards are being settled. Finished. Han Xing breathed a sigh of relief. He was really afraid that the system would come to stage 3 or stage 4 at this time, and he would cry. However, it's impossible even if you think about it. After all, this is only a 1-star Secret Realm. If the difficulty is set to such a high level, then others will not have to fight at all. The system prompts to continue swiping. The Secret Realm reward settlement has been completed. You get prop rewards: Strong Fragments *3, Rune Crystals *170, Silver Treasure Chest *1. The treasure chest exists in the secret map, please open it yourself. You have received experience points as a reward, 4,700, and your pet, briquettes, has gained experience points. The pet briquettes have been upgraded, the current level is LV6, and the skill, Void Drain, can be unlocked. After the system prompt ended, a white light flashed across Coal Ball's body. Han Xing was suddenly surprised and said, "Level 6. So, that new skill can finally be unlocked." He couldn't wait to check the properties of the briquettes. Pet information: Void Wolf, Young, Race, Void Tribe, Level, LV6, Strength, 21, Agility 39, Spirit 20, Constitution 23, Pet Coal Ball has unlocked a new skill, Void Draining. Void Drain. When the Void Wolf enters combat, it continues to draw power from the void. All attributes are increased by 50%, its recovery ability after injury is greatly improved, and it can automatically generate a void spike in its body every second. After a total of 10 void spikes are generated, all spikes will explode. Seeing Coal Ball's newly activated skill, Han Xing slowly exhaled, then gritted his teeth and said, "Pervert." He admitted that he was indeed a little jealous of the pet briquettes. The skill of void absorption is more abnormal than the first 4 skills of Coal Ball. Just increasing all attributes by 50% is enough to be called a magical skill. In addition, the second attribute can greatly improve the recovery ability of briquettes and improve its survivability in disguise, but the last attribute directly turns briquette's second skill, Counter Spike, into an active skill. As the most powerful explosive method of coal briquettes, the triggering conditions of counterattack spike are relatively strict. It can only be released automatically after being attacked 10 times, although the dodge rate of Coal Ball is very high. It also has its own weakness, that is, its physical fitness is too low. In addition, the enemy's Han Xing challenges are generally relatively powerful. As long as he fails to dodge once, it will be a heavy blow to Coal Ball. Therefore, Han Xing has always focused on keeping Coal Balls alive and trying not to withstand attacks from other monsters, and this counterattack sting has become a useless skill. But now, after the Void Drain skill is activated, the shortcomings of the briquettes have been directly made up, achieving a qualitative leap. This skill can be said to have once again improved the combat effectiveness of briquettes by several levels. Moreover, after reaching level 6, the improved attributes are equivalent to the improvement of the previous 2 levels, which is greatly enhanced. If it were Coal Ball at this time, faced with the siege of 6 psychic puppets, Han Xing would not be so frustrated. Okay. It's indeed a pet with S+ growth rate. It's so fierce. Han Xing was very happy. Starting today, we will update 6,000 words every day, divided into 2 chapters. 10,000 words will be updated every day after it is put on the shelves. Please read it. Chapter 58: The Transformation of the Void Spirit Wolf. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Most of the wine jars in the dwarf wine cellar were shattered due to the collapse of the palace, leaving only the last wine jar intact. Fortunately, you left a jar for me. Han Xing said happily. Even Han Xing, a person who doesn't drink much, understands the preciousness of such aged liquid, and of course you have to find a way to take something so precious away. However, considering that this wine jar is 1 meter high and half a meter wide, it is really difficult to take it away, so, Han Xing tried to put it into his backpack, and the next moment, the black wine jar disappeared from where it was. Oh! Is it really possible? Han Xing was surprised. Although this jar of wine is large, it only takes up 2 spaces in the backpack. At this time, the system prompt appears, has obtained black vine wine, 760 years, comma. I'll go. 760 years, am I right? Han Xing rubbed his eyes. When he confirmed the year on the item information, he was even more shocked. He then read the notes under black vine wine. Note, the dwarves have a unique research on brewing. Besides forging, it is the second racial talent that can be proud of the Holy Spirit world. Black vine wine is also the kind of wine that the dwarves are best at brewing. Its raw materials include black vines in the dark forest, magic leaves from the elf forest, egg whites from giant rock eggs, ghost spring water, combined with the dwarves. The unique brewing technique can finally brew a jar of raw liquid. The older the black vine wine is, the more mellow its taste will be, and it is deeply loved by the dwarf nobles. The dwarves' brewing skills are as good as their forging skills. Even before the lid is opened, the aroma of wine is intoxicating. Moreover, this is still 760 years old black vine wine. If it were placed on Blue Star, I don't know how many drunkards would go crazy. If the battle wasn't about to start, Han Xing would have even wanted to take a bite on the spot. At this time, Mei Qiu stood in front of Han Xing wagging his tail as if he was asking for credit. Han Xing patted its head and praised, "Not bad, the dog's nose is really smart." At this time, 5 minutes have passed since the 10-minute preparation time given by the system. Han Xing quickly walked to the remains of the 6 psychic puppets and disassembled them one by one to avoid being destroyed by the aftermath of the battle. From the remains of these 6 puppets, Han Xing recovered a large number of fine iron arrows, and then put a large amount of special magic clay into his backpack, plus 6 damaged psychic cores, as well as some other mithril and fine iron. After doing this, Han Xing took out a piece of dried animal meat from his backpack, chewed it for a while, and then swallowed it. He must seize the time to restore himself to his best condition. Time flies, 10 minutes pass quickly. The third phase of the challenge has started. Survivors, I wish you good luck. When the prompt ended, Han Xing suddenly felt that the palace beneath his feet was shaking like never before. Rumble. Not only this palace, Han Xing even felt that the entire valley began to shake. Then, a terrifying big hand stretched out from the center of the ruins, shaking off countless stones and bricks. Half of the body slowly sat up in the rubble. It was like a giant that had been sleeping for many years and was awakened by some will today. When it stood up, a huge creature over 6 meters tall and dark yellow appeared in front of Han Xing. The attribute panel of this monster also appeared in front of me. Enhanced psionic puppet, elite level, level, LV7, strength, 64, agility 48, spirit 49, constitution 67, remaining spiritual energy value, 80. Remaining defense value of psychic core, 300, skills, energy bombardment, rock body, passive skill, when receiving physical attacks, reduce the damage effect by 30%, earthquake impact. The psychic puppet jumps high and slams into the ground, causing a huge ground impact. Affecting the range enemies within will cause a lot of damage. When he saw the attributes of this puppet, Han Xing breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, it's only elite level. He was really afraid that a leader level monster would suddenly pop up in the system, which would end badly. But think about it, the previous 2 rounds of battle were already so difficult. If there is another leader level at this time, there is no need to fight at all, because even he is not confident that he can kill the leader level creature alone. Even he can't pass it, so how many people can pass this hidden mission? However, even though he is an elite puppet, he cannot be taken lightly, because the defense power of ordinary psychic puppets is comparable to that of elite monsters. It is not surprising that the physical defense of this enhanced puppet is on par with the leader monster. When the battle began, Han Xing instantly became fully focused. The familiar starting point is the wind-chasing arrow, ding. After this arrow hit the psychic puppet, it was directly deflected. Han Xing's eyes darkened, and his thoughts turned out to be true. This guy's defense power is no longer just a stone, it's comparable to fine iron. There is no defensive reduction buff from the briquettes, and this arrow does no damage. The elite puppet was angered by Han Xing's arrow and was about to attack. At this moment, Han Xing suddenly saw many purple lines appearing on the body of the coal ball. These lines extended out, as if they were connected to another space. It is coal ball's newly activated 5th skill, Void Drain. The next moment, the black light on the coal ball surged, and the whole wolf flew away, appearing next to the elite puppet in an instant. With the blessing of the power of the void, all attributes of the coal ball increased by 50%. Coupled with the 200% speed bonus of the flickering void, the movement speed of the coal ball at this time even faintly exceeded the limit of a 1-star monster. Aha! Swish! Before the elite puppet had time to react, there were more than a dozen claw marks on its body. Although it didn't seem to cause any damage, purple mist was rising from every claw mark. In an instant, Briquette reached the limit of its armor-reducing state, directly reducing its defense by 30%, compared to before reaching level 6, this speed has more than doubled. At the same time, Han Xing also saw that the figure of coal ball kept flickering and often appeared next to the core of the psychic puppet. Every time it appeared, it would definitely take away 7 or 8 points of defense value from its core. The elite puppet seemed to be irritated by this annoying little thing, and made a dull mechanical sound from its mouth. Those who disobey Lord Karen's orders will die. That the psychic puppet counterattacked with a slap as big as a millstone. Compared to the small body of the coal ball, if it was slapped casually, it would be beaten into a pulp. Usually when encountering this kind of situation, Han Xing doesn't need to remind him. Mei Qiu will also rely on his instinctive sense of fighting to avoid it, but now it is unafraid, withstanding the attack of the psychic puppet, outputting wildly, bang! 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 Although the psychic puppet kept attacking the coal balls, the strange thing was that its slaps on the coal balls had no effect. As if attacking a mass of phantoms, the palm of the psychic puppet passed directly through the body of the coal ball. Skill: Void Body's 50% dodge probability is constantly triggered. Moreover, the attack rhythm of the coal ball is getting faster and faster. Every time it appears, it leaves many wolf paw marks on the elite puppet. That speed makes even Han Xing's scalp numb when he looks at it. Less than 5 seconds from the start of the battle, the core defense value of the psychic puppet poured out like water, dropping directly to below 250 points. Han Xing looked dumbfounded. He held the long bow and stood aside blankly watching Coal Ball perform alone. After reaching level 6, this little guy has completely transformed into a mini-boss. In single combat, even elite monsters are suppressed and defeated. At this time, the core device of the psychic puppet was operating to the extreme, and the output power had already reached its maximum. In other words, the CPU is almost dry and smoking, but even so, it cannot keep up with the pace of briquettes. Han Xing suspected that if the psychic puppet hadn't been set up to have no emotions, it would probably be mad at this moment. At this moment, a ball of energy suddenly accumulated in the palm of the psychic puppet, and a terrifying aura erupted in an instant. For Lord Chiron, it actually chose to detonate the energy ball in its chest, trying to achieve a lose-lose effect and also severely damage the coal ball. Be careful! Han Xing exclaimed. The coal ball was unable to dodge for a moment and was engulfed by the energy of the explosion. Boom! After the smoke dissipated, the figure of the briquettes flew out. Han Xing rushed over quickly, ready to support. However, he discovered that after the coal briquettes landed, not only did their aura not decay, but the power of the void within them began to surge. Han Xing clearly saw that the hair on the briquette's body had been burnt black, which was the injury caused by the explosion just now. But now, these injuries are recovering at a speed visible to the naked eye. They have recovered in a short time, which is comparable to the recovery effect of Korean stars using the secret life medicine. This. Han Xing stopped in confusion. The next moment, the recovered coal ball rushed towards the elite psychic puppet like a tarsal maggot again. Han Xing said blankly, "In this situation, it seems like nothing will happen to me." At this moment, Han Xing saw that coal ball's body suddenly turn transparent. 10 void spikes are looming. Then, the void spike suddenly erupted, all bombarding the psychic puppet's body, puff 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 puff. The sound of dense metal penetration sounded. With this blow, the two void spikes destroyed the core defense value of the psychic puppet by more than 50 points. All other spikes also hit, and the damage was terrifying. Han Xing saw that the psychic puppet's right shoulder was even pierced by a void spike. Even the mithril patterns were interrupted, and the right arm lost its function. At the same time, the core defense value was less than 100 points, and the psychic puppet at this moment completely entered a violent state. Its two huge legs were as thick as millstones, and the secret patterns were blazing brightly, as if all the energy was converging between the legs. The next moment, the psychic puppet jumped high. Han Xing's expression suddenly changed. This is the third skill of Elite Puppet. Earthquake Shock, which is a range damage skill and is very terrifying. Without thinking, Han Xing rolled over and quickly ran towards the edge of the palace. Coal briquettes, run. Chapter 59 Psychic Puppet Making Sketches. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Coal ball, run. Han Xing shouted as he ran. However, Coal Ball, who had already entered a fighting state, looked at Han Xing, then looked up at the psychic puppet in the air. The next moment, the black light on its body surged, and it suddenly jumped into the air and caught up with the psychic puppet who was releasing its skills. Han Xing glanced at it from the corner of his eye. At this time, the coal ball looked like a monster. He actually rushed into the air and chased the enemy. Moreover, while the psychic puppet was releasing its skills, it was unable to defend its own psychic core, so it stretched out its wolf claws and began to attack crazily. At this time, the core defense value of the psychic puppet plummeted faster than the stock. After 1 second, the core defense value is cleared directly to 0. Coal Ball directly stretched out its wolf claws and scratched inside. A burst of smoke rose, and the secret patterns on the psychic puppet suddenly dimmed, as if the energy supply had been cut off and it was forced to shut down. Then, a huge body fell from the sky. Rumbled that the huge body fell, kicking up a huge cloud of dust, and the violent impact even made Han Xing almost unsteady. After the smoke and dust dissipated, Han Xing saw that Coal Ball was stepping on the corpse of the psychic puppet, holding his head high, exuding the majesty of a king. He swallowed and said after a while, "Brother Chiu, you are so fierce." At the same time, the system prompt appears. You have completed the Lost Palace hidden mission, Chiron's experiment report. You get challenge rewards, Strong Fragments *8, Rune Crystals *370, 18,000 experience points, and Pet Briquettes get 14,400 experience points. Mission item obtained, Kalong's experiment report, 0.18000 experience points, which is a huge amount, directly pushed his experience bar to 100%. The next moment, Han Xing's body flashed with white light, and his level increased again. In addition to a large amount of experience, Han Xing also had an extra file in his backpack, which was the mission prop given by the system this time. Han Xing took it out and took a look. Kalen's experiment report, mission prop. With this report data, you can go to Kalen's Kingdom Laboratory to extract the experimental data of psychic puppets. The scene is not open, so this task is temporarily unavailable. There is another plot below. On July 21st, the 13,153rd experiment achieved exciting experimental results. I finally created a powerful puppet that can be copied in batches. I want to tell the king the news as soon as possible and put the puppet into the war as soon as possible. On the 25th, Monet came to the palace to see me. She was still so beautiful. I heard that Monet also had many suitors among the elves. She was so beautiful that she was incomparable, as if she had fallen into the world. Fairy, but I am a dwarf who only dares to peek at her from the sidelines. On July 26th, Monet heard the results of my experiment and thought it was very impressive. She praised me for being very talented. Even among the elves, there is no man as smart as me. This is the first time I have ever met her. I saw a smile of appreciation on my face, and at this moment, my heart almost melted. On July 27th, Monet still stayed in my palace as a guest. She studied with me, traveled together, and admired the moon together. I was so happy that I even took out the collected black vine wine and we were all drunk. Already. On July 28, Monet and I woke up together in the palace. I know that last night we did something that was against racial ethics. How could dwarves and elves? However, Monet has such big breasts. On July 29, we did it again. Monet. She was so big that I threw all morals out the window. On July 30, Monet and I did. On August 1, I did it with Monet. Learn some new postures. August 2, the elves are awesome. August 3, it's over. I didn't get up all day again today. Seeing this, Han Xing couldn't help but cover his eyes. What kind of bullshit mission props is this? The whole article is full of this kind of pornographic diary, and it looked like a dwarf being manipulated by an elf woman. Han Xing continued to look down. On August 17, Monet called me Dr. Chiron and hoped that I could tell her how to make the puppet. However, the palace's experimental data had already been uploaded and was prohibited by the king's order. Facing her disappointed eyes, my heart was as sharp as a knife. Hang, but there's nothing I can do. On August 20, Monet finally left the palace, and I felt a little empty. On August 25, the puppet palace suddenly suffered an inexplicable attack. The palace was bombed into ruins. Fortunately, I went to my uncle's house as a guest on the same day. On August 26, the kingdom sent dwarf knights to investigate, and finally concluded that it might be the work of the Shadow Clan. This group of demon minions must want to steal my experimental data. But they certainly didn't expect that a self-destruct program has been set up in the palace, and all data will be automatically destroyed the moment it is attacked. On September 1, I moved to the main city of the kingdom, and all experimental data was successfully transferred. On September 7, I suddenly remembered something important. In the puppet palace, there are still some hand-drawn drawings and data that have not been cleared. Oh no! After reading the mission introduction, Han Xing made a rough judgment in his mind. This Kailong experiment report is likely to be a series of tasks. Now that he has completed the first link, it is equivalent to getting the task props for the second link. But, where is Kalen's Kingdom Laboratory? The system also said that the map is not open and this mission cannot be carried out. Han Xing could only temporarily put this mission prop into his backpack. Then, he walked over to the huge puppet remains and clicked on Decompose, successfully decomposed the enhanced psychic puppet, elite level, obtained special clay *9182, obtained mithril *681, obtained rare earth *16455, obtained enhanced psychic core *1. When the remains of the elite puppet disappear, a system prompt appears. You have completed the 3-stage challenge of Cloud's Secret Realm and Lost Palace. After 10 minutes, you will be automatically teleported out and the Cloud's Secret Realm will disappear. Can we leave here in 10 minutes? From the time he came in until now, he has stayed for almost 2.5 hours, and has gained a lot. The biggest reward is naturally a large amount of experience. Not only did he reach level 7, but Briquette's also reached level 6, then there are 11 powerful fragments, as well as a large amount of materials decomposed from these puppets. While Han Xing was quietly waiting for the teleportation to leave, he suddenly caught a glimpse of something different out of the corner of his eye. There was a huge shallow pit where the elite puppet originally woke up. There seemed to be some hand-drawn patterns underneath the shallow pit. He quickly walked over. At the bottom of the shallow pit was a floor paved with bluestone. Han Xing saw at a glance that several sketches of puppets were carved on the floor. Next to the patterns, there were clear notes on the construction path of mithril, the ratio of rare earth and magic clay and other materials. Think of the last sentence in the mission props, that Chiron said that he still had some hand-drawn manuscripts and data in the laboratory. Han Xing said with surprise, "These patterns can't be." The next moment, the system prompt appeared. You have discovered Kalen's psychic puppet production sketch, and the relevant drawings have been automatically recorded. Am I super? Hearing the system prompt, Han Xing opened his mouth in shock. He didn't know what making a sketch was, but he knew that his system interface did have an extra drawing. This means that you can make this kind of puppet through drawings. Thinking of this, Han Xing suppressed his excitement and quickly checked the drawing introduction. Psychic puppet drawing. Based on this drawing, psionic puppets of different levels can be made. The level of the psionic puppet is determined according to the number of spiritual cores added during production. The number of spiritual cores required to make a level 1 psionic puppet is 1000, the number of spiritual cores required for level 2 is 2000, and so on. Note that the maximum level of the psychic puppet produced cannot exceed the survivor level. Materials required for production: psychic core *1, special clay *8000, refined iron can be substituted, mithril *1000, rare earth *12,000, ether *20,000, production success rate, 20%, boosted by the talent of God-level craftsman. The success rate has reached 100%. After reading the introduction of the blueprint, Han Xing was shocked again. This was actually a blueprint that could produce puppets of different levels. Moreover, the materials used to make psychic puppets are not complicated, they are all common materials. Doesn't this mean that as long as you have enough materials, you can even directly rely on this drawing to pull out a huge puppet army? This means that when I encounter monsters in the future, I don't need to take action. I can just use the puppet army to swamp them. Thinking of this, Han Xing's breathing became quickened, because this plan is probably feasible. Although making a psychic puppet requires a lot of materials, with his god-level talent and the player's collection ability, why worry about not getting a large amount of materials? Of course, Korean stars still think too wonderfully. Although the materials used to make a psychic puppet are not complicated, the most important part is the psychic core. Although he had the blueprint for making a psychic puppet, he did not have the method to make a psychic core. Moreover, he now only has a few damaged psychic cores in his hands. Han Xing counted them, and there were 7 in total. Even if they were all repaired, only 7 psychic puppets could be made. The dream of the puppet army was shattered. Han Xing said bitterly, "This Kailan, why did you only write down the drawings of the psychic puppet on it, but not also the drawings for the production of the psychic core? Stupid guy, a hateful love brain." Fortunately, Chiron is not here. If he heard this, he would probably reply angrily, "What's wrong with you, love brain? Is love brain eating your rice?" However, Han Xing was satisfied. After all, the materials he had now could make 7 psychic puppets. Although it is only an ordinary level puppet, its resistance to beatings even exceeds that of ordinary elite creatures. This defensive characteristic alone is enough to make people crazy. This trip to the secret place was worth it. At this time, Han Xing noticed that in a corner of the pit, there seemed to be some patterns covered by the ruins. Chapter 60: Making Psychic Puppet. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Han Xing noticed that in a corner of the pit, there seemed to be some patterns covered by the ruins. There's more. That he jumped down quickly, and then tried to move the gravel away to see what the patterns were. After equipping the barbarian gauntlet, Han Xing's power has reached 45 points. Coupled with the 30% increase in the barbarian bear's power secret potion, Han Xing's power is nearly 60 points. His current strength attribute is enough to move these heavy boulders. He removed the boulders one by one, and after gritting his teeth and pushing away a stone pillar, a larger puppet pattern appeared at Han Xing's feet. A system prompt appears. You have discovered the production sketches of Kailan, the enhanced psychic puppet, elite level, and the production drawings have been recorded. Fuck. A shout echoed throughout the palace, but at this moment, the time in the secret realm has ended. Han Xing suddenly felt an illusion in his body, and the next moment, he was teleported to his own territory. Overhead, the blue sky reappeared. Even so, Han Xing still didn't recover from the shock for a long time. This trip to the secret realm has completely exceeded his expectations. Not only did he learn how to make psychic puppets, but in the end, he actually discovered how to make elite level psychic puppets. What a huge surprise! Suppressing his excitement, Han Xing began to look at the blueprints for making elite level psychic puppets. Enhanced psychic puppet drawing. Based on this drawing, you can make enhanced psionic puppets of different levels. The level of the psionic puppet is determined based on the number of spiritual cores added during production. The spirit required to make a level 1 psionic puppet is the number of cores is 5,000, the number of spiritual cores required for level 2 is 10,000, and so on. Please note that the level of the enhanced psionic puppet created cannot exceed the survivor level. Materials required for production: enhanced psychic core *1, special clay *20,000, refined iron can be substituted, mithril *5000, rare earth *50,000, ether star. The production success rate is 5%, boosted by the talent of a god-level craftsman. The success rate has reached 100%. The materials required for elite-level psychic puppets have increased exponentially, but compared to its powerful attributes, it is all worth it. He only has one enhanced psychic core in his hand, which means he can only make one elite-level puppet. After using some materials and repairing the damaged psychic core, Han Xing eagerly clicked on the production button, whether to make an enhanced psychic puppet, elite level, *1, time required for production, 4 hours. Yes, the enhanced psychic puppet is being made, the remaining time is 3 hours, 59 minutes and 59 seconds. Han Xing looked at the construction time of his junior lord's castle. There were less than 9 hours left before it could be completely completed. At this time, most of the castle has been completed, the lower 2 floors have begun to take shape, and the last central tower remains unfinished. Very good. Once I make a few puppets, the castle will be almost completed. By then, my territory will be initially equipped with defensive capabilities. Han Xing imagined the completed castle with great anticipation. At this moment, Han Xing received a message from the discussion group, which was sent by Qing Jianyong. He clicked in and took a look. As soon as he entered the discussion group, he heard Qing Jianyong saying with hidden anger, "Damn, what a bad luck." Han Xing and Xinyun both heard something was wrong in his tone and quickly asked, "What's wrong?" The biased courage said angrily, "I just met 2 little cubs on the way. They took the initiative to approach me and said that their territory was invaded by monsters and they were seriously injured. They hoped that I could save them. I thought that everyone was from Blue Star, so we were all of the same kind, so I felt some sympathy. Unexpectedly, these 2 brats ran to my territory to treat their injuries, and even took a fancy to the equipment on my body. These 2 guys suddenly attacked me and I was almost killed by them." Han Xing heard the seriousness of the matter and asked quickly, "How are you doing now? Do you want us to go there?" Xinyun also said hurriedly, "Send me the coordinates quickly, I will go and kill these 2 brats right away." Qing Jianyong said in a serious tone in the discussion group, "No need to come over, I have already solved it." After the 2 of them heard this, their hearts moved. They knew what the solution Qing Jianyong was talking about. At that juncture, it would be difficult for the 2 sides to stop fighting. In other words, these 2 guys with evil intentions may have been killed directly by Qing Jianyu. Unlike the previous battles with those monsters, this time Isamu Qingmi actually killed someone. However, the 2 of them didn't say anything. After all, in this world, there are no legal restrictions, and they must do everything possible to protect themselves. What's more, someone else is going to kill you. If you don't kill him, what are you waiting for? At this time, the atmosphere in the discussion group was a little heavy. At this time, Qing Jianyong sighed again. "This time, fortunately, with the help of you guys, you gave me so many blue equipment and skills, so I killed these 2 brats, otherwise." He said earnestly, "Brother Xing, Brother Yun, I finally realized that in this world, we must protect ourselves. If it's someone you don't know, you must not let them land in your territory." The 2 also knew that Qing Jianyong's reminder was very reasonable. After confirming that Qing Jianyong was fine, Han Xing closed the discussion group. After a moment, he pondered, "Sure enough, just as I thought, although the human survivors now all face a common survival predicament, there must be a handful of people with evil intentions among them. I must improve my strength as soon as possible. At least, I must build up the territory's defenses first. In this way, even if I encounter some guys who want to attack me, I have to weigh whether I have the ability." Thinking of this, Han Xing took the briquettes and started to level up. With his current strength, combined with the transformed briquettes, ordinary island monsters pose no threat to him at all. As long as he doesn't seek death and comes into contact with those monster islands that are 1,000 square meters in size, he will basically not encounter enemies more powerful than him. By sunset in the afternoon, Han Xing had just killed a group of goblins and his level had reached 80% of level 7. After a day of exploration, his territory expanded directly from more than 1,200 square meters to more than 2,000 square meters, nearly doubling. However, Han Xing did not continue to expand the use area of the territory. instead. More than 1,000 of the territories were folded and placed under the empty island, becoming a superimposed state, the area of his sky island. Territory has been reduced to 1,000 square meters again. If he obtains other architectural drawings later, he can still change it to the first level at any time, but now, he has no buildings to build, and the area of the territory is too large, which is not a good thing. At the same time, the system prompt appears. The production of enhanced psychic puppet, elite level, has been completed. The system prompts the end. Han Xing saw a 5-meter-tall steel giant suddenly appear in the center of the territory. This is the elite level psychic puppet that was just made. It seems that because the main material, special magic clay, was replaced with fine iron, the appearance of this psychic puppet became like a steel giant. In front of me, the attributes of the puppet also appeared. Enhanced psychic puppet, 1-star elite level, level, LV7, strength, 68, agility 37, spirit 49, constitution 71, remaining spiritual energy value, 0, remaining defense value of psychic core, 300, skills, charged. Cannonball, steel body, passive skill, when receiving physical attacks, reduce the damage effect by 40%, seismic impact, the psychic puppet jumps high and slams into the ground, causing a huge ground impact, which is harmful to enemies within range, cause a lot of damage. Compared to the elite puppet he challenged in the secret realm, this puppet's agility attribute was lower, but its other attributes had been slightly improved. Han Xing estimated that this was also caused by the fact that the main material for making psychic puppets was replaced by refined iron. However, its second skill, body of rock, has been transformed into body of steel, and its damage reduction effect has also been partially improved. If it is only used for defense, the attributes of this psychic puppet are qualified. At this time, the psychic puppet remained motionless, as if it was dead. Han Xing knew the reason. It was because the psychic core had no energy, so he walked to the psychic puppet and started to replenish energy for it, and the system prompt appeared. Do you want to invest spiritual cores into the enhanced psychic puppet to replenish the psychic energy value? Note, 100 spiritual cores can replenish 1 point of spiritual energy value. Each 1 point of spiritual energy value can allow the enhanced psychic puppet to enter combat status for 1 hour. Oh. In other words, 10,000 spiritual cores can only allow this psychic puppet to fight for 100 hours. This is a bit expensive. Han Xing finally discovered that the psychic puppet really lives up to its name, and it needs spiritual cores to do anything. He is also thinking about making a puppet army in the future. If this is the consumption, he will need to consume at least tens of thousands, or even hundreds of thousands of spiritual cores after a battle. Even with his reserves, it was a bit too much, but now, he can still afford the consumption of just a few puppets. Han Xing waved his hand and directly invested 5,000 spiritual cores, replenishing its spiritual energy value to 50 points. The next moment, the energy core on the psychic puppet's chest glowed with bright green light, and it regained its ability to move. Han Xing suddenly wanted to test how well this psychic puppet could accept his orders, so he said, "Go forward." The psychic puppet took heavy steps and began to stride forward. Boom. Boom. The territory continued to tremble, and the furniture and sofas were shaken by a few centimeters. Stop! That the psychic puppet's movement stopped instantly. Attack form. As soon as he finished speaking, a ball of terrifying energy condensed in the hands of the psychic puppet. 1 second, 2 seconds, the energy ball in the hand of the psychic puppet fluctuates more and more intensely, and Han Xing also saw that its spiritual energy value dropped a little in just a few seconds. Han Xing quickly asked the psychic puppet to stop accumulating energy. The next moment, a green energy ball exuding a powerful aura of destruction blasted into the air. Boom. A dull explosion sounded.